What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the fourth episode of the Dive for the Pylon podcast. My name is Zach Van Arsdale, and I'm alongside Cole Weintraub. In this episode, we are diving right into the conference championship games and summing up last week's divisional round. This week has been full of many surprises and questions, including Patrick Mahomes and Antonio Brown's health, plus the legendary matchup between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Listen, we have a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. Cole, how are we doing on this fine Saturday night?
No, Zach, I can't complain. It's the weekend. There's no school, and we got more football tomorrow. So I'm not opposed to it. So I want to talk. You said that we're going to go into the divisional round. I'm down with that. So let's first look at this Packers-Rams game. I mean, I wasn't surprised about the outcome of this game. I really thought the Packers were just going to manhandle the Rams. I didn't think the Rams had enough firepower on offense to go on the road in Lambeau and take a dub. I think there's only been 5 quarterbacks to ever do it, and Jared Goff was just not one of them. But the Rams did have some life, and Cameron Akers continued his excellent ground game, carried the ball 18 times for 90 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's really come on at the end of the year, and we're really getting a preview of what kind of running back he is, because at the start of the year, he wasn't, as involved. And Jared Goff, I mean, he completed his first 15 of his 17 passing attempts. I thought that was very impressive without Cooper Kupp. And without Cooper Kupp, that hurt. Robert Woods had 8 catches, but only for 48 yards. Usually Kupp's in for those short yardage situations. But it really was the Packers offense that was firing on all cylinders. You had, Devontae Adams. We saw the Devontae Adams versus Jalen Ramsey matchup. The Packers got to the goal line. They put Matt Adams in motion to the left, then motioned him right. You had Jalen Ramsey shadowing him, and Jalen Ramsey got caught behind a defensive back. Adams was able to get into the end zone, caught a touchdown. You saw on the sideline Jalen Ramsey stopping his foot on the ground. It was quite hilarious. And then Aaron Rodgers actually had a 1-yard rushing touchdown, which was the first by a Packers quarterback in a playoff game at Lambeau Field since Bart Starr's winning sneak in the Ice Bowl against Dallas in 1967. But it like I just said, the Rams had some life. It was manageable at some points in the game. Aaron Rodgers he had a missed throw to Marquez Valdez-Scantling for a 90-yard touchdown, and then Allen Lazard dropped a 35-yard touchdown. But when the game was on the line with 6:52 left in the fourth quarter, Rodgers found Lazard for a 58-yard touchdown, and that was that. And at the end of the game, you heard Aaron Rodgers and was like, "We finally get to do it here," signifying that they finally get to play a championship game at Lambeau, which is huge. Maybe not. It's not probably going to have as big effect on his incoming matchup, but I mean, playing at Lambeau is just different. So, Zach,
Yeah.
that Bills game, I mean, hey, do you have anything to talk about the Packers and Rams? I apologize.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Packers-Rams, I don't think anyone was surprised that the Packers kind of controlled their destiny, but
Right.
the Rams fought with everything they had. So, I respect them for that. I really respect Aaron Donald. He had torn rib cartilage, and he went out there and played as much as he could. So other than that, I mean, I think that you pretty much summed up what that game had to offer.
Yeah.
But, looking at this.
Yeah. Oh, you can go ahead. Right.
Looking at this Bills-Ravens game, I mean, wow. It was, not what people were expecting, I'd say. I think a lot of people were expecting a high-scoring, Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. But this was a defensive battle. And, I mean, that was really topped off with the 101-yard interception by Taron Johnson. I mean, that really, like you said, Lamar Jackson, he was bound to throw the interception in the red zone. And we saw it, and we saw it in a pivotal moment in that game. I mean, it was 10-3. They were driving down the field. The Ravens, if they tie that game, it's 10-10, and it's going to be a dogfight to the end. But the interception just kind of ended anything. 17-3, late in the third quarter, it's over. And then, I mean, obviously Lamar got hurt on the next series, but the big thing kind of going back to that defensive battle was the Bills defense limited how much Lamar was able to get out to the pocket. And that was very important because Lamar Jackson likes to extend plays. And this Bills defense, forced him to make uncomfortable throws that he doesn't like to make. So that obviously played to the Bills' game plan there. If you look at some stats in the game, he was limited to 42 rushing yards on 9 carries, Lamar Jackson. And that's not something that is normal for him. He expects to get close to 100 yards a game rushing the ball. So again, to credit this Bills defense, they just played phenomenal throughout the entire game. And, you could say that when it was 17-3, the game might not have been over, but, that 2nd and 10 where the center Patrick McCarry snapped the ball over Lamar Jackson's head and ended up resulting in Lamar taking that hit to the head, that was the game changer. Lamar pulled out for the entire 4th quarter and putting the backup in. I think he's a rookie out of Utah. But the Ravens were done at that point.
Yeah.
They couldn't really do much on offense. And their defense, defense played well. They only allowed 1 touchdown from the Bills offense. And the Bills started that drive at the 38-yard line of the Ravens. So, going back and just overall summary of the game was the Bills won the defensive battle.
Yep.
So, that's my take on Bills versus Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, you said in the last video it was really going to be like who was going to step up on defense. It was going to be a high-scoring game, we thought. But really, like, who was going to, like, make that play and stop the other team from scoring? And when they brought in Huntley, he came in the game down 17-3. Or maybe it was 14. I think it was 17-3. Makes this throw to Marquise Brown on a 4th down and just shoots it over his head. I mean, that was going to be a 60-yard touchdown, put them right back into the game. I mean, Lamar Jackson said it. He didn't want anyone really knowing about him because he's kind of like their secret weapon. But the Ravens were getting stops on defense, but really not having Lamar Jackson just was the deciding factor. I mean, how are you supposed to win the game without your MVP? Like,
right.
You just can't. So, I mean, we take a look over on the Chiefs-Browns game, and I mean, this was a game that going in, I was just like, all right. I mean, Chase Claypool said on his Instagram Live, I mean, the Browns were going to get crushed. But that just wasn't the case. Maybe it should have been the case, but it just wasn't the case. So going into the second half, Chiefs are up 19-13. The Browns come out, and with 9:29 left, Mayfield throws a touchdown to Jarvis Landry to make it a 9-point game. All right, so you're sitting back, and you're like, okay, Browns just came out, got to stop, and are putting points on the board. Maybe they'll have something to go. But soon after, Mahomes was, I wouldn't say slammed down to the turf, but he went down awkwardly. And you saw his neck kind of flip. And it just didn't look good. And it wasn't until he tried getting up and you saw that look on his face. He didn't look like he was, in the right dimension. He looked like he was like falling over. It was not fun to watch. And even before that, he was playing through like a broken toe, I'm pretty sure, which was impressive. But, Patrick Mahomes is going to play through those small injuries. So after that, the Chiefs added a Butker field goal to go up 12. I mean, Butker was, going back to that Ravens game, when we saw 2 Justin Tucker misses, I mean, that was crazy. Like I said in the third, I think, podcast that Justin Tucker makes everything. I maybe should have posted that on Instagram because I was pretty proud of myself calling the Lamar Jackson interceptions. But then you see Harrison Butker having some trouble with field goals and extra points. He does make that field goal to go up 12. Then you see Kareem Hunt running in a rushing touchdown against his former team in Kansas City. And this put KC in an uncomfortable situation. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is ruled out. So they're forced to bring in Chad Henne, who, he's been a career backup. He's I'd like to call him Clipboard Jesus, but that's Charlie Whitehurst's name. Henne comes into the game, throws a bad interception, gives Cleveland the ball back with time to go down the field and score. I'm pretty sure this is a 5-point game at this point. Yeah, 5 point.
It was 22-17.
Right. So Cleveland gets the ball back, has the chance, like I just said, to go down the field. They go 7 plays, 12 yards. Like that was it pretty much. I mean, they did have some timeouts. They did end up punting. The game wasn't over, but you just saw that drive, and it was just like kind of a gutless drive. They couldn't get anything going, and they really needed to because, that was if they go down and score a touchdown, they're up by 2, forcing Chad Henne to move the ball down. But game wasn't over, like I just said. So the game's on the line. It's a 3rd down and 14. Time's ticking down, and Henne needed to make a play. Like, they were going to give the ball back to Cleveland. So out of nowhere, we see Chad Henne rolling out of the pocket. Like, what's going on? Chad Henne takes off and dives for 13. I was like, what is going on? Like, Chad Henne, and he was moving too. He was moving. Like, he was.
He had some speed, acceleration.
I know. I was like, he must have been wanting to do that his whole entire life. But he didn't make the first down mark. They showed it on replay. It looked like he may have gotten it, but since it was inside 2 minutes, they couldn't go and review it without, the referees convening. So it's 4th down and 1 on the Chiefs' 48-yard line. I think there's a little under a minute 30 left. I don't think the Browns have any more timeouts. And Andy Reid is known for making, bold decisions, and he made another one. I think he put Hill in motion. Henne snapped the ball, threw it out to the flat. Tyreek Hill caught the ball, went for 5 yards, sat down in bounds, and that was the game. Like, I was like, wow, like, really, Chad Henne came into this game. I mean, he only had to make 2 plays, really. And, that won the game. And after the game, this is talking with the hashtag anything is possible. I mean, anything is possible. I mean, they did go to they're going to the AFC Championship game without even Patrick Mahomes playing the entire 4th quarter. So I just thought that was a pretty, a fun story per se.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, a quick thing I'm going to mention is just what, I'd be interested to go back and see what the game would have been like if Mahomes was back in, would this still have been a close game, or
no?
Would the Chiefs have pulled through and won by multiple touchdowns? So it would have been interesting to see, but I'm glad we got to see a close game for once.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was going to be a blowout, and it just wasn't. So then we go to the Sunday night game.
Yep.
And
Saints versus Bucks.
Yeah, we said this was probably going to be the best game of the weekend, and I'd say it was. I mean, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, from a back and forth standpoint, I mean, you look at the Chiefs-Browns game. I wouldn't say that was necessarily a good game, but it was only because of an injury that turned it into
right. Yeah.
Right. So,
like, if you went before the weekend, you would probably still say Bucks Saints, not knowing Patrick Mahomes was hurt. But
right. So talk about Saints Bucks. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my opinion, this game came down to the turnover battle, which the Bucks won. And, Drew Brees did not, if that was his last game, that's a game that he does not want to be remembered for, 3 interceptions against his defense. And so he threw 3 interceptions. They had a fumble in the game.
Yep.
But this Bucks offense turned 3 of the 4 Saints turnovers into touchdowns. And that's critical.
Tom Brady.
Because those are easy points that, Saints are just giving the Bucks. And I remember the one interception. I mean, it put the Bucks at the Saints 2-yard line or something. It was like the first touchdown in the game, Brady to Evans. That's a turning point that the Saints could not allow to happen. And I mean, they just gave points to the Bucks, which going back, just it kills teams. And Tom Brady, this was the first time this year. The previous 2 times he threw multiple interceptions against this Saints defense, but this week, last week, he didn't throw 1. So that's a huge step up. Playoff Tom, we saw him. He came, he conquered, he beat the Saints. So, that's that. He just played well. We didn't throw for 400 yards, but he didn't need to because his defense, made the stops and gave them short fields.
Right.
But, one thing I want to point out is Jameis Winston, man. He
famous Jameis.
He was finally given a chance to do something. I mean, he delivered.
Yeah.
You know, that 56-yard touchdown throw, hit Smith. I don't remember his first name.
Traquan Smith?
Yeah, I think so. Raekwon Smith. Yeah,
Okay.
Traquan Smith. Yep, hit him for a 56-yard pass. You know, and that was a hell of a pass. The Bucs defense was fooled. You know, and it was just hype to see him happy, to see him making a play.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if Drew Brees is to retire, which I think he will, Jameis Winston is most likely going to be the next guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was fun to see him on the field and fun to see him succeed there, and especially against his former team, you know, Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston. So, some nice revenge there from Jameis. But other than that, yeah, I think this game, the Bucs towards the end controlled their own destiny. And, you know, Tom Brady in the fourth quarter is not somebody you want to face. He just makes the plays, he makes the passes, and we saw that again. So, you know, I think it'll be interesting to see how he does this week in Green Bay. But yeah.
Unless your name's Derek Barnett or Brandon Graham, I don't think you're really stopping fourth quarter, Tom.
No.
So, I mean, it's really like, I must say, it's pretty sad to see Drew Brees. You know, I think this is probably like we've just said, it's probably his last game. I mean, I've watched Drew Brees for a very long time. I've been watching football since I'm 5 or 6. He's always been a saint, and it's just, you know, pretty sad to, you know, see someone so, you know, involved with the NFL on and off the field, just an all-around good guy. And you said it, like Jameis Winston, he looks skinnier, I must say. I mean, I think he had that eye surgery in the offseason. I'm not sure if really that was the difference between him throwing interceptions or not. A lot of people might say otherwise, but I think it's just Jameis's decision making. But I mean, yeah, he just dropped that honey in right into Smith's hands. And yeah, I was pretty impressed. And they didn't have Taysom Hill, so they needed to do something funky with.
Right, they had to. I mean, that probably hurt the Saints, to be honest, not having, because they run a lot of formations with Taysom Hill as tight end, quarterback, wide receiver, and they weren't able to do any of that. So
yeah, and but they fulfilled their one opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I'm sad to see Drew Brees go. We recently found out that Philip Rivers is retiring. I just feel like the quarterbacks of my childhood are slowly, you know, slipping away.
Yep.
It's just like Eli, you got Brees, you got Rivers, Rodgers is probably.
Yeah, I think if Rodgers wins, I think if they win a Super Bowl this year, I think Rodgers will have a lot to consider. I doubt he'll retire, but
it's possible. Yeah, I mean, you got Brady. I mean, all these guys. And like, it just makes me feel old. And hey, that's not a great feeling, you know. So let's turn over to tomorrow's game, 3:05. I'm surprised this is not the nightcap. I'm really surprised that this is not the night game, but we have Packers Bucks, and really, I mean, we're going to talk about the keys to the game, and I mean, this is a great matchup. I mean, we talked about it like a couple podcasts ago. We thought that the next matchup was going to be Packers Bucks. It ended up not being it, but we finally have it. I mean, it's Rodgers and Brady. Like, it can't get any better. So you got the 3 keys of the game for the Packers. So number 1, you erase the last matchup between these two teams. Tampa just annihilated Green Bay 38-10. I mean, I watched that game live. It was on Fox. And it just, like, it was probably Rodgers' worst game of his career from what I've seen. I've not seen Rodgers under that much duress. I think he fumbled a snap. He was getting sacked. I think he was sacked over 5 times. And, you know, he turned the ball over a couple of times. So I really think that, and he's a professional. He's not going to, like, let the other game dictate what happens this week. I doubt this outing is anything close to what happened. Rodgers steps up in the big game. My number 2 key to the game is rattle Tom Brady. The Packers, their D line needs to have a big game. You got Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark. Those guys need to be in on every single play and make a difference, because we've seen playoff games, we've seen any game where Tom Brady's has enough time in the pocket, it's game for the other. Like the other team has no chance. Like if you give Tom Brady time, like there's like, how are you supposed to stop him? He's gonna make the throw when he needs to, and if you can't move him around, then he's just gonna take advantage. And the games where I've seen Tom Brady lose in the playoffs, he's been under pressure. And I'm going to look at, the 2011 Super Bowl. Justin Tuck was having a great game. You had 07, you had Strahan, Umanura, and Justin Tuck. They were both getting to Brady. You had a bunch of sacks. You had a safety in there. You need to, make Tom feel uncomfortable. And while this might not rattle Tom, someone in the Packers secondary, Kevin King, he needs to play a clean game. So he's an outside cornerback, but since AB is out, is in question who will be on the outside opposite Mike Evans. You got Tyler Johnson from Minnesota, or maybe even Chris Godwin steps up and slides to the outside. He's usually a slot receiver. And I think, I don't know if they'll change that around, but it'll be interesting to see. We got a comment from our Instagram live. Sean Dempsey says, you got to pressure the GOAT. And he's totally right. You're totally right. You just have to. So my third key to the game is assert Devontae Adams, enter MVS. I mean, Devontae Adams, we said it. 9 catches, 66 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Ramsey. Maybe not all of those were against Ramsey, but if he can do that against Jalen Ramsey, he can do it against anyone. And the Bucs don't have the best secondary. They have Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. Those are all young cornerbacks, and I think, Rodgers is going to, exploit that. Devontae Adams is such a force outside. There's definitely going to be safety help over the top. You can't play the guy one-on-one. He's just going to dust you, or he's just going to run around you. But likely lining up against him is Carlton Davis, who played a perfect game against Michael Thomas. We didn't mention it. Michael Thomas actually played through, I believe, I don't know what it was. Was it like a leg injury? It was something.
I think it was an ankle injury.
Yeah, that's what it was. He stepped up, wanted to play in Drew Brees' last game, and that's maybe why. It looked like he may have caught a touchdown too, and they reviewed it and called it incomplete. That was a turning point, but we're not talking about that game any longer. But yeah, Carlton Davis, he's no match for Devontae Adams, in my opinion. And Michael Thomas was playing hurt, so Devontae is going to have a stellar game. But if he doesn't have it, he can go out there not as a decoy, but he can shift attention. And shifting attention is going to enter MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who's probably one of the more inconsistent wide receivers in the NFL. But he led the NFL in yards per catch, slightly over 20 yards. And I think that MVS scoring a touchdown will be one of the reasons why the Green Bay Packers will win this football game. I said it. Playoff time is going down. I project the score to be 31-28 Packers. I know I might get some hate for picking against Tom Brady. Honestly, I want to see either quarterback in the Super Bowl. I enjoy watching both of them a lot. So let's flip it to the Bucs. We're talking about Brady. Let's flip it to the Bucs. You got the two-headed monster in the backfield. Green Bay's middle of the pack when it comes to stopping the run. Fournette, like I've mentioned in the past, can slow down entire defenses, which opens up Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones was injured in that first Washington game, but he can play a big role. He played all right. I think they ran they ran the ball a lot last game. I think 27 carries, but less than 4 yards a carry. So I think they need to step that up. I'm not saying the Packers are going to absolutely win this football game. It's really a toss-up. I mean, you look at the point spread, I think it's 3 points, which is a complete pick 'em because it's usually 3 points for home field advantage. So, Ronald Jones has sneaky speed. So I think you're going to see a lot of Ronald Jones in the second half. The defense is going to be tired, and Jones is going to be able to make plays. And hopefully the Bucs aren't too far behind, because then we probably won't see as much Ronald Jones as I'm, projecting. Then you got Chris Godwin. He's lining up against Chandon Sullivan, who had one of the more underrated seasons from a slot corner. I did some research on him. He was not burned one time during the season, according to Player Profiler. And in week 6, he locked up Godwin to only 1 catch and 31 yards. I mean, that might be a eye-popping stat, but Godwin had been battling a hamstring injury that held him out for 2 straight weeks. But, with AB out, Godwin needs to step up. I mean, like we said, the next guy down is Tyler Johnson. I'm not discrediting Tyler Johnson. He made a hell of a catch last week. But Chris Godwin, when he's on, he's great. We saw it last year with Winston, but I think he's going to have a huge impact with Brady. I mean, you have Mike Evans lining up against Jair Alexander. It's going to be a good matchup. I don't really see Evans doing too much, and that's why Chris Godwin is going to have a big game here, win or lose. I mean, Sullivan's best opponent of the year, I read, was Chris Godwin. That's my opinion. He faced off against Justin Jefferson, held him to 55 yards. He had Randall Cobb. But I think Chris Godwin's a superior player. And then really, it's pretty simple but true. Prevent the Packers from the big plays. The big plays are what win the Packers football games. I mean, like I said, simple yet true. Green Bay's won games all year from the big plays. I mean, you look at last week, Aaron Jones had a 60-yard run, which set up a touchdown. Then you had the Allen Lazard 58-yard catch that was the ceiling, that sealed the deal. So if the Bucs can stop the Packers from these deep plays to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Lazard, stopping them on the run, it's really then they have a chance. But I do think they're going to exploit. They're going to exploit that. Zach, you have any score prediction for this weekend's game, or any input in general?
Yeah, so my score prediction is probably going to get a lot of hate. I think Packers 35, Bucs 24. I think that this Packers offense is on a roll right now. I think they're clicking on all cylinders, and I think that they're going to give a much harder game to the Bucs than the Saints did. So I'm interested to see that. I don't think Brady's going to play great. I think that he's going to, I think this Packers defense is going to be able to apply a little bit of pressure, but I think the Packers are going to win. An interesting fact that I just pulled up: both of these conference championship games, the Chiefs played the Bills in Week 6 on Monday Night Football, and the Bucs played the Packers in Week 6. So we're getting 2 rematches of Week 6 here in the conference championship. So that is something that probably has not been done a lot in NFL history. So yeah,
it's going to be a really fun game to watch. I mean,
definitely.
I'm hoping this game is going to go right down the wire. I know your score prediction 35-24, but from a football fan standpoint, I hope it goes down to the fourth quarter. One of the 2 guys are working a game-winning drive. Those are really, the defining moments in anyone's career, but not really these guys. These guys have done it. So it'll be interesting. So let's shift it to the 6:35 game, I believe. 6:40. Bills Chiefs. Zach, what do we got?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, 3 keys to the game for the Chiefs. First one is gotta be stopping this Bills passing offense. When Week 6 in the first game of the season they played, they limited the Bills to 122 passing yards. So right there, that's incredible. If you can stop the Bills passing game, you put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen to use his legs, but also with Zach Moss being out, you now force them to use Devin Singletary, who isn't known to be a rushing running back. He's more of a receiving running back. Yeah. So if they can stop this passing offense, they can really shut down this entire Bills offense. So, you got to look out for that, definitely. I think a second key would be ground and pound for the Chiefs here. In their Week 6 matchup, the Bills played the game plan of not letting Patrick Mahomes beat them deep. They They dropped their safeties back. Their coverage was, relaxed. They weren't concerned with giving up big rushing plays, but they were concerned with giving up, the 50-yard passes to Tyreek Hill or Mecole Hardman, stuff like that. So for the Chiefs, they got to be able to run the ball effectively. I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I know he's battling, the injury, and he's questionable for tomorrow. But, they still have Darrell Williams and Le'Veon Bell. And, those two right there are kind of similar. You could say they're, the two-headed monster that the Bucs have between, Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. Maybe not as important, but, still kind of that duo combination that could be effective. They had 245 rush yards against the Bills last time they played. So that's incredible. And the third key would be keeping an eye on Josh Allen. So what we saw, last week, and we've seen throughout the season, Josh Allen loves to keep plays going with his legs. He loves to get out of the pocket and throw those deep passes to sidelines or, straight up the gut. But this Chiefs D has to find ways to put pressure on him, but without they got to find ways to put pressure on him,
right?
But containing him at the same time, filling the gaps, but at the same time making sure that he doesn't scramble for 20 yards. This season he's ran for over 400 yards and gotten 8 touchdowns. So he's proven to be a capable runner. He can go outside, he can scramble, and he can kill you in that part of the game.
Yeah.
So those are 3 things, in my opinion, the Chiefs need. If they want to blow this team out and win by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's pretty challenging to keep Josh Allen to pressure Josh Allen. Maybe that's a little easier. I mean, with the Chris Jones, Frank Clark pass rush, but to contain him is really is a challenge. It'll be interesting to see what this Chiefs defense can do. I mean, they don't have like any Aaron Donald type players, but they've got a bunch of guys that can play well in the system. And if they can hold Allen, if they can contain him, I don't think the Bills running game. This is a bit better Bills team from what we saw in Week 6.
Definitely
been playing better defense. But yeah, I mean, I know this is like a side fact, but I remember playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Week 6, and the Bills. It looked like every time Clyde was running for 6 or 7 yards, it was the most angering thing. But I think they're gonna stack the box a little more. I don't think they're gonna be playing as soft in coverage. I mean,
no, yeah, especially. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes' health will be 100%, obviously, but will that play a factor into this Bills game plan? Any bit of making or trying to make Patrick Mahomes beat you for a 55, 60-yard pass this time around?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Patrick Mahomes, it's pretty amazing how he gets hurt on Saturday, right?
Sunday,
right?
Game Sunday.
He gets hurt on Sunday. He gets a concussion, and now he's back. I mean, maybe it wasn't a concussion. Maybe they just pulled him out for precaution. But I mean, he had to clear the protocol. But he did it in 4 days or 5 days, whatever it is. Maybe no. What am I saying? He did it in a week. And it's just crazy because usually the protocol is like 19 days. I mean,
right. Yeah. When you hear guys have concussions, it's, normally they miss at least 1 week and 2 weeks pretty much, always, but now it's.
And yeah, this isn't something to mess with. Like he's got to be 100% or it's insane that he's playing this game. This is Patrick Mahomes. You've invested $500 million into this guy. And I mean, sure, this is an AFC Championship game, but if you're putting the guy's career on the line, I don't understand it, but they're clearly not. He's healthy. He's ready to go. And that leads us into the keys to the game for the Bills. How do you stop him?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first key was containing Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And, I think that the Bills got to kind of go back to a similar game plan, at least for containing Patrick Mahomes, as they did with Lamar Jackson. They limited his out-of-the-pocket mobility, and they rushed the quarterback while maintaining, rush gap discipline. They stuck to their assignments. The outside guys made sure that no one, Lamar Jackson was not outside of them a lot, and the inside guys were able to apply pressure. I think that if they can do this to this Chiefs offense, they can probably create some uncomfortable situations for Patrick Mahomes. Second key would be capitalizing on opponents' mistakes, which the Bills were like half and half last week, I would say. Obviously Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals, and the Bills both times got the ball around the 45, 50-yard line and yet failed to get points.
Yeah.
Those are things that against a Chiefs offense, which is probably the best offense in the league, you can't do. You have to score points when teams make mistakes. Though, on the one mistake that the Ravens made, which was like a 23-yard punt that started out the Bills on the 30-yard line, they did get a touchdown. So, that is a positive. But other than that, I mean, the Chiefs don't make a ton of mistakes, so you have to kill them on the ones they do. If they drop passes, then you have to make sure that you take advantage of their missed opportunity on that drive and you go down and score and, field goal or touchdown, because you're going to have to score a lot in this game, in my opinion. This game's going to be high scoring, and the Bills need to keep this offense going. And the more opportunities the Bills miss, the more chances they're giving Patrick Mahomes to kill time and score points.
Yep.
And the last key, in my opinion, would be winning the third down battle. So the last 2 weeks, the Bills have went 2 for 9 and 4 for 13 on third downs, which is terrible compared to what they did in the regular season, which they had almost a 50% conversion rate. So, you take that and you go to the playoffs, you're not performing the way that you did in the regular season. That could come back and hurt you. You got to stick to what worked. And obviously winning third down battles was critical to, a lot of their wins this season. Third down battles, in my opinion, are big in any game because that really helps with the field battle position.
Yeah.
If you convert a third down, you get, first down. Obviously, the more first downs, the further back, even if you punt the ball, the further back that team's going to be.
Exactly.
So with this Chiefs offense, you need to pin them back if you aren't able to score points, on our 20, 10, or, hopefully, within the 10-yard line, because you want to make them go 90 yards to score. You want to make them battle, and have hard drives. But if you're not getting these third downs, you might be giving them the ball on the 40-yard line, and they got to go 25 yards to get a field goal.
Yep.
So it's things like that which the Bills' defense and offense need to win. They need to win these third down battles. They need to win the trench at the line of scrimmage if they want to win this game.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's a good point. I mean, you broke down some simple fundamentals in football, simple, simple things in football that you need to stop. And I think it's totally in the Bills, key to winning the game. I mean, they have to, capitalize on the mistakes. We saw the Bucs capitalize on mistakes. I mean, it's Tom Brady. Can Josh Allen capitalize on the mistakes?
Right.
If the Chiefs even make any. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, that's the big thing. The Chiefs make 1 or 2 mistakes, or maybe 3. 3's their max a game.
Yeah.
So if the Bills can capitalize on 1 or 2 of those 3, I mean, they're probably in a good situation. But if they can't capitalize them, the Chiefs are probably going to make the Bills pay. So the Bills just got to come out and, I have the Bills winning. I have them winning 31-28, or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, 31-28. So I want the Bills. The Bills are underdogs. I want them to win. We're going to be up in school, up in, sort of near Buffalo.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, hey.
I want the underdog. We saw Patrick Mahomes last year. What about Josh Allen? Can Josh Allen? I would love to see a Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers Super Bowl. So.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we're gonna see a lot more of Patrick Mahomes. Like he's probably gonna be there next year and the next year and the next year. I can roll with that, but realistically, non-biased, I'm going 30-20 KC. I do think Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen didn't play great last game. They put up 17 points. He was missing throws. He was overthrowing receivers. I think he hit Diggs for a touchdown. But he just didn't look right. He was just, throwing the ball over the place, looking like, old Josh Allen. So I do think he's going to make some mistakes, and, KC capitalizes always. So 30-20 is my score. I mean, we're going to take a deeper look. I mean, like off these Super Bowl or these championship round games, we're going to take a deeper look into the head coaching signings. I mean, there's been a lot a lot of new head coaches. I don't remember the last time there's been this many. There are guys I've never even heard of, and they're going to, teams like the Eagles and the Lions. So we're gonna cover that. And then next week we have a nice Super Bowl special. We're gonna bring on some other Syracuse students are going to Syracuse next year. And that'll be really fun. We're gonna talk about some score predictions. Maybe get fun. Maybe some joke questions about during the game. Maybe something about a halftime show or something like that. But before we wrap things up, we have to mention the passing of Henry Aaron. Passed away at the age of 86. His infectious smile, his insane power at the plate, and his prominent role in the integration of baseball is what he will always be remembered for. During his career, he accumulated 3,771 hits, which is third on the all-time list. Hit 755 home runs, which ranks second of all time. But in my opinion, he's number one. Barry Bonds shouldn't count. And he knocked in 2,297 runs, which is the most of all time. Aaron won the Most Valuable Player in 1957, and along with that prestigious award, he was a 25-time All-Star, a 2-time batting champion, and a 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, and a World Series champion. In 1982, Hank's stellar career was acknowledged as he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Hammerin' Hank was one of the greatest baseball players to ever live and will truly be missed. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.